Welcome to the channel, it's your boy and I'm back again with another video. Today we're going to be doing a reaction video to a very interesting car. It is very interesting. This little car over here. It's a simple and inexpensive car, and it's not one vehicle than the Volvo EX30. It was recently released, and it has an interesting price, really cheap. It's one of the cheapest EV in the market right now, and its starting price is around $34,000. A beautiful simplistic interior, and it is made the interiors are made out of sustainable materials. So we are going to do a reaction video to the top job video, and without no further ado, let's get into it. Before we do that, if you're new and if this is your first time you've seen me, always simply subscribe and stick around and follow my channel.
This is the Volvo EX30 and it's crammed with superlatives. This is the smallest electric SUV that Volvo's ever made. It's the fastest accelerating Volvo of all time, and yet they're saying that this has the lowest overall CO2 footprint of any car Volvo has ever made. They reckon it's full of technology and practicality, but the main thing you're going to want to know about is an EX30 will cost you not much more than 30 grand. So, small Volvo, big deal? Now, don't be confused, this is not the replacement for the XC40, Volvo's current entry-level SUV. You can still buy that with pure petrol or pure electric power. This EX30 is a bit smaller and kind of looks like a more modern XC40, one that's been crossed with a Pebble, really. It's just smoother. There's no grille here. You still get this diagonal Volvo motif, which is nice. They've blacked out the roof, the classic, make it look a bit lower, trick. And yeah, overall, it's just not as aggressive and thrusting as all of those German SUVs. From some angles, it's actually kind of cute.
So, the EX30 might sell on how its bodywork looks, but Volvo wants to rave about what it's made from. A quarter of the aluminium here is recycled, 17% of the steel is also recycled, and there's the same proportion of repurposed plastic inside. You can even spec carpets made entirely from reclaimed plastic bottles. And because it's made out of composted litter, and Volvo is busy trying to cut the carbon emissions of its entire supply chain and factories, this is supposedly the kindest Volvo ever for the environment.
Which is a lovely soundbite, but what are the cold hard numbers? Well, Volvo says that the lifetime CO2 output of this car for its first 200,000 kilometres is under 30 tonnes. And 18 tonnes of that is building it and getting it out the factory, which if nothing else just goes to prove how much of your car's environmental impact comes into the world before the keys ever land in your hand.
I know, that still sounds like a horrifyingly huge amount of greenhouse gas, but I'm told that no other Volvo, even a very frugal petrol one, can beat that carbon footprint from factory to 200,000 Ks.
How those numbers get crunched will likely provoke plenty of debate, I'm sure, but if nothing else, it is interesting, isn't it, to see car manufacturers moving away from just eradicating the nasty bits coming out of the tailpipe and understanding that if this sort of electric car revolution will have an impact, you can't kick Mother Nature in the teeth every single time you build a car.
And yet, like I said earlier, it's going to be the quickest Volvo ever off the mark. The top-of-the-range twin-motor performance version has 428 horsepower and will leap from 0 to 60 in just 3.4 seconds. Even the base rear-drive version has 272 horsepower and will match a Honda Civic Type R to 60 in under 5.5 seconds. So, like most electric cars, this sensible family SUV is way quicker than it needs to be.
Now that's not because it's a light car. Even a base spec one is over 1,800 kilos, and a dual motor top of the line job is perilously close to 2 tons. But the batteries in this thing are interesting, I promise. Stick with me because this involves some chemistry.
Right, here goes. Basically, Volvo's argument here is that you should pick a battery depending on how much range you realistically need. So, the entry-level single motor EX30 gets a 51 kWh nickel manganese cobalt battery, which is cheaper to make, so it keeps the base car's price down. However, that chemistry sacrifices some range, so if you need more mileage, the mid and top spec dual motor cars get a 64 kWh lithium ion battery, taking range from 213 up to almost 300 miles. And all of them can charge rapidly at between 134 and 153 kilowatts, so it'll do the 10 to 80% top up in less than half an hour.
Phew, that is the end of the maths and chemistry lesson. But the good news about all that battery ingredient stuff is it's pretty cost effective. So a mid-spec EX30, which is how it will launch in the UK, that will be called the Plus, and it will start from about 34 grand. Top of the line will be Ultra, which kind of gets all of the toys on it, and that'll be over £40,000. But the more interesting one is the base spec. Now that's going to be called the Core, and that's as in like apple cord, not like, you know, Cockney rhyming slang, core blimey gavna. But their Volvo is saying that that will be £32,000 for a good-looking, Scandi cool Volvo, when Mercedes want 52,000 of your pounds for a deeply mediocre EQA, and what's the BMW iX1? 53,000 quid. Oh, yeah, core blimey. I suppose we'd better have a look inside. Right, we can have a good game of modern interior design bingo in here, I think. Let's start off with the square steering wheel, the glossy button pads, and of course a giant portrait touchscreen. And that is where the Speedo lives. No screen here. That's because Volvo says in their research, your eyes refocus quicker from the outside world to a readout here and to one just there behind the wheel. I'm not sure I agree with them, but we'll have to give them the benefit of the doubt when we drive it. So what can we actually look at now? Well, other stuff. There's your transmission lever just behind the steering wheel. I'm most interested by the doors. Yep, the doors. You see, there's no speaker down here. There's just a huge storage bin. So where's the speaker? Well, that's lying on top of the dashboard, great big sound bar. There's no window switches either because they live here in the middle. So you get more storage, but also a door that's got no speakers, no wiring, no switches. It's lighter, which is good for your range, but it's also cheaper and easier to produce in the factory. And that is how you pass the savings on and make your entry-level electric car, well, more accessible for more of us to buy. But fear not, those very clever Swedes in between designing a system that stops you opening the door into the path of a cyclist and knocking them unconscious, and coming up with even more innovative cup holder solutions. They have had time to include marketing in here, like 5 different interior soundscapes to match your ambient lighting. So you can drive along pretending it's midsummer, or that you're looking at the Aurora Borealis, or you could just go outside more often.
Because there's no gearbox or transmission tunnel to worry about, Volvo shifted the glove box to the middle, so it's easier to reach for the driver and just bigger. As you can see, there's just about enough room for an adult to sit behind an adult in the EX30. I'm exactly 6 feet tall and I just about fit behind my own driving position. In the boot, there's a handy size guide to help you decide how much IKEA furniture will fit, or if you should have just saved up harder and bought an XC90.
And speaking of price and hierarchy in the range, does it feel like the entry-level car in here? I mean, yeah, to an extent it does. I wouldn't call it plush. I want to be kind of kind to this one because this is a prototype, it's a model, it's a show car. But I wouldn't say it's cheap and nasty either. There is a nice sort of honesty to the materials. You're not seeing loads of fake leather grain here, are you? Or fake stitching, materials pretending to be stuff that they're not. That's kind of BMW i3-ish to me. There's an honesty to everything, which I like. My main bugbear is just, as usual, putting everything in the touchscreen. You know, when you're Volvo, you have this world-class reputation for safety, longer than any manufacturer has done. And yet, if I want to make it cooler in here, and right now I really do, or if I want to adjust my mirrors, because there are no controls on the door, I've got to take my eyes well off the road and go into the touchscreen. I mean, down here, could I not have just had a button? Still, I bet these are going to be absolutely everywhere in a year, don't you? I mean, it looks right, it's got a badge people like, it has the right technology and practicality, it apparently dissolves climate guilt on contact, and the price is very, very punchy and probably won't change every 5 minutes like it does when you try and buy a Tesla. Right, that's the EX30, and for me it's all downhill from here.
Anyway, that's about it. Guys, if you're not subscribed yet to the channel, please subscribe, and I am going to post another video as soon as possible. So tomorrow is going to be another day I'm going to see you here again. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and follow for more videos, and leave a like and let me know what you think. And yeah, it was really nice hanging out with you guys, and if you made it to the end, you're a winner, and I thank you very much for watching. So